Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome into this loving community of seekers where we strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. Welcome to you, whether you are here in our physical sanctuary, whether you are joining us in our Zoom sanctuary. We are one community living in the in-between this morning. You might notice we have a little bit of a different sound setup here. And the whole service this morning is about living in that space between who we are and who we want to be. And this morning we're living in that space between our sound system as it is and our sound system as we would like it to be. And many thanks to Gary for joining us this morning and helping us stay on. However, this does mean that it is not hooked into our hearing loop this morning. So if you usually use the hearing loop, there are over-the-ear headsets available, but we hope that you will stay with us as we work out this system into the future. So many thanks for everyone who showed up to keep us going and keep us together. Here at the Unitarian Society, we have all kinds of things going on beyond Sunday morning. So if you are visiting with us or joining us as a friend or a family member for the first time or the second time, whether you're here or online, we would love to keep in touch to let you know how you can get involved and perhaps find out if this community could be your home with us. There are a couple ways to do that. You can fill out that little yellow connection card if you're here in person and drop it in the office, or stop by the welcome table during coffee hour, or online, there's a link to an online connection card that will allow us to keep in touch and update you and invite you to participate. And there's a couple of things I want to invite you into in particular, and that is that next Sunday is Easter, and there are all kinds of fun things going on this Sunday, including our first pancake breakfast on Easter morning at 8:30. The pancake breakfast over Christmas for the past 2 years has become so successful and beloved that Peter Hale, one of our worship associates, has said he would be happy to host and coordinate a pancake breakfast next Sunday. So come at 8:30, talk to Peter if you'd like to help out. And of course, we will be having our Hunt for Justice, our annual Easter egg hunt with a special Unitarian Society twist as our kids learn about generosity and compassion in the world while eating chocolate treats. So it's a win-win-win. And I don't think just the kids are limited to treats. I've heard that the donut wall is going to make an appearance. We are in the midst of our Bridge to the Future conversations, and it is not too late to participate in one of these small group visioning sessions about where we are going and how our campus and physical space can reflect who we are. And we are going to be finishing this out at the end of this month. We've had over 85 people sign up to participate so far, and the vision team has set the goal of 100. So if you haven't yet participated, we are very, very close to reaching that participation goal. Please join us for one of these conversations. You can sign up in the link that you get in your Friday email. We are also in the midst of getting ready for many holiday celebrations, including Passover at the end of April. You can stop by a table during coffee hour to sign up for our Passover Seder, led by folks in our Congregation of Jewish Heritage. It's a wonderful opportunity to participate in this tradition together. It always fills up, so sign up early, figure out what kind of dish you can bring, and join in our Passover Seder at the end of April. I invite you now to take a breath, to settle yourself wherever you are. Allow yourself to be fully present this moment, this time we share together. And as I ring our bell, let the sound connect us.
Good morning. Everybody nice and toasty? Our chalice lighting this morning, Nancy Edmondson will join me. Our chalice reading is by H. Jackson Brown. In the confrontation between the stream and the rock, stream always wins, not through strength, by perseverance.
Every so often on a Sunday, we're going to take a time for connection and new greetings. And so we're going to have a time of community connection where I'm going to invite you to stand, move about the space, say hello to just one or two people that you don't know. If you're joining us online, this is an opportunity to introduce yourself in the chat, to turn on that grid where you can wave to everybody, perhaps turn on your camera for a moment. But let's get to know each other just a few moments and listen for that bell that will call us into our first song after our community greeting.
I don't think you just give it 2/3. Yeah. You guys edit this on the fly for the streaming? This is the stream picture? Oh, okay. And then somebody's speaking, you flip it up there.
I'm going to invite everyone to return. I love the hum of connection in the room, but I'm going to invite you now to put that conversation on hold and pick it back up during our social hour after the service. I love seeing Matthew's going to play a little intro to our first song, Wayaya, number 1020. I know the extroverts among us are saying, but I just got started talking, and the introverts among us are saying, thank goodness. But we'll all have time to connect more at coffee hour. So let us now sing our opening song, number 1020, Wayaya. The words are in the teal hymnal or on the screen. If you want to rise in body and spirit, and let us sing together.
Either one.
If that's okay, I'm changing
Yep.
things at the last minute. I'm gonna stand here this morning and I'm gonna invite all the kids who are here to come sit in the front row. Dylan, because you're gonna need to see the TV, so sit in the front row there with Jamie and Joy and Dylan. We're a little flexible this morning with all of our sound challenges. There's Sophia and welcome everyone. So this morning, all of us, we are going to take an imaginary trip to the circus, where we will learn how to swing on a flying trapeze. So first, with any luck, we're going to take a look at this video to see what we're in for. Okay. Are we ready? So in order to travel to this imaginary circus, we will need to close our eyes, breathe deeply, and count down 5 to 1. You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your eyes closed and use your imagination to picture this, a huge tent with red and white stripes. There are colorful little triangle flags strung up all around the tent. Flags are gently waving in the breeze. There are bright spotlights shining, circles of light moving around. Picture the spotlights roving around the circus tent with its flags. One of the lights has just passed the big banner hanging right over the tent entrance. It says, "Circus Spectacular," in big letters. And there's the ringmaster. She's wearing a black top hat and a coat with long tails on it. She's holding a microphone and announcing that it's time for Circus Spectacular's newest performers to join the show. That's us. Turn up the power on your imagination. We're about to fly through the air with the greatest of ease. Fly through the air on the flying trapeze. The trapeze is high, high up in the top of the circus tent. Look up and imagine the performers swinging and doing little flips. Now it's your turn. Climb up the ladder to the high platform. Look down at the cheering crowd below. You're so high up, they look like little dolls. Now look straight ahead. There's a trapeze bar hanging right in front of you. It's a silver bar with chains securely fastened to the trapeze structure, strong and steady. I invite you to reach out with your arms if you pretend to grab onto that bar. Got it? Good. Now let's start to swing. Take a step off the platform and you're off. Your arms up and lean your body forward as you can. I invite you all to do this. Arms up, lean your body forward a little, and then backward. Try doing that at a gentle pace a few more times. And this time, try breathing in as you lean forward and breathing out when you lean back. Go ahead and swing a few more times. Great. Come back onto the platform. I think we're ready for the big jump. Look across the tent. Imagine one of the circus trapeze artists hanging from their knees upside down on another trapeze bar, just like we saw in the video. They're swinging towards you with their arms outstretched. Just watch. Watch them swing far back to the other side of the tent and up close again. Their hands so close you can almost reach them. Reach out your arms now, and as soon as they swing back, take a deep breath and jump. What if you could hit a pause button on your imagination right now? There you are, suspended in midair. Your feet are off the platform and your arms are reaching out. How do you feel in this moment of uncertainty? You've left the solid platform behind and you're hoping the trapeze artist will be there for you. You've taken a leap of faith, trusting that there will be someone or something to grab onto. That's not an easy thing to do. Okay, press the play button on your imagination again and reach out and grab the hands of the trapeze artist. Feel them pull you through the air. They have a strong hold on you. You made it. You're swinging through the air on a flying trapeze. And you feel the air rushing past your face and blowing your hair back as you fly back and forth. Hear the audience gasp and cheer, gasp and cheer, gasp and cheer. Slowly come to a stop now. You can open your eyes. Your performance was a hit. Congratulations. You were a super circus spectacular performer. Thank you for taking that leap. Now, the kids and I are off to join Janie to celebrate the Hindu spring holiday of Holi. Janie was raised in the Hindu faith tradition, and we love it when she shares her holidays with us. They are always super fun. So Holi, so you know, is very colorful. So watch for a whole rainbow of children during coffee hour this morning. And that's our time for all ages today.
Hold you in love as you go west. May your love you go to nurture the spark of your precious love. We hold you in love as you go.
I invite you now to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation to continue reflecting on this theme of change, of opening ourselves to the space between the unknown. And I'm going to invite you into the reflection and meditation and prayer this morning with a poem, followed by a few words to frame the meditation and a time of quiet, after which we will sing together song number 134, Our World is One Word. So I wanted to start with a poem by Yehuda Amichai, and it's called The Place Where We Are Right. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we are right is hard and trampled like a yard. But doubts and loves dig up the world like a mole, a plow. And a whisper will be heard in the place where once the ruined houses once stood. As you enter into this time of meditation, I invite you to find a place of certainty within yourself, a place where you think you know where you stand or what the right answer is or how things should be. And with a gentle, loving touch, soften that certainty. Allow a sacred maybe to enter in. Allow love and compassion to till up the soil in that place, that concrete yard where all answers are clear and settled. Imagine the hard-packed dirt lifting up where a green shoot begins to break through the soil and unfurl. The change we long for so often requires a willingness to be unsettled by new growth. And so on this first Sunday of spring, let us make room in our hearts for transformation and the emergence of new possibility. From the space where you are, let us sing together number 134 in the gray hymnal, Our World is One World.
Hi. I'm Nancy Edmondson.
I'm Gary Welchman.
This is Gary Welterling. And also with us in spirit right here today is Charlotte Briganti, who is our congregation's Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. And Charlotte just left with our children and youth to be with them. She's here with us in spirit as Gary and Charlotte and I are all members of the PFLAG Santa Barbara chapter. Yeah. We move in the world as Unitarian Universalists, firmly grounded and supported by this congregation. We belong to each other. What we do here affects others in the outside world. We want you to know and understand and feel thanked by the support you offer to PFLAG Santa Barbara. The space that's in between can be a scary place. It can be a creative space. It can be a place of celebration and joy. Parker Palmer talks about this space as the tragic gap. He says we live in a tragic gap. A gap between the way things are and the way we know they might be. It is a gap that has never been and will never be truly closed. If we want to live nonviolent lives, we must learn to be and act in this tragic gap, this space in between, faithfully holding that tension between reality and possibility. PFLAG Santa Barbara is one of hundreds of chapters nationally that come together as over 325,000 human beings that work as an all-volunteer network. So we know that it's possible. And we faithfully envision an equitable, inclusive world where every LGBTQ+ person is safe, celebrated, and loved. We also know that's not the world we inhabit now. Not nationally, and not here in Santa Barbara. And so we acknowledge that reality, and that's why our mission is to continue to create this world and advocate for that space. PFLAG puts it this way: we lead with love. Caring love, it's an inclusive love, and it's a fierce love. It's a love that says yes, and it's also a love that says no. We are parents, family members, friends, and members of the LGBTQ community. We provide peer-to-peer support. We provide education, resources, advocacy. We are co-conspirators. We are the sand that gets into the gears of oppression and marginalization. We welcome your participation. So you might catch on, leading with love is not all unicorns and rainbows. We have those. but we're courageous indeed. We make space for vulnerability. We meet people where they are, and we show up to have challenging conversations that can open hearts and minds. So we want to thank all of you, and I'd like to let you know all the ways we want to thank you for all the things you are doing. You help us financially. Gary's going to ask you to put some money in the plate today.
Yeah.
Again, that's important because this congregation, when you give us money, it comes with no strings attached. You don't tell us what to do with it. And that means that we can use that money to support our chapter's activities, and sometimes that's an urgent need. Some of you, some of us are members of the chapter, and we hope that number will increase. Additionally, this congregation provides the PFLAG Santa Barbara chapter space free of charge for us to gather, to build community, and to organize together. An example is an interfaith PFLAG luncheon that we'll be hosting here in May, where faith leaders across the Santa Barbara area will gather. It's important for them to know each other, to mobilize together, and to amplify all of our efforts. You're offering space for the Transgender Day of Visibility next Saturday, which is an outgrowth of PFLAG Santa Barbara. It's sponsored by Santa Barbara Trans Advocacy Network. And now here's a really big one we want to say thank you to all four. Charla Brigante, who I mentioned before, who is our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, is able to include her service as a PFLAG board member into her professional portfolio here. That means Charla is able to contribute her considerable skills, talents, and energy and inspiration to PFLAG Santa Barbara. Without your remarkable support, and thank you, Julia, we know you moved that, Charla would be unlikely to commit that time and energy to PFLAG Santa Barbara. This is a significant show of support to an all-volunteer organization. Thank you.
It's a tough act to follow. Nancy is much more eloquent than I am, and I recognize that. This month's offering is designated to support PFLAG Santa Barbara, as Nancy said. As a new board member, I am delighted with the love and support you and the Unitarian Society have shown for PFLAG, not only this month, but every month throughout the year. We have showed up, and when we do, we make a difference. And in turn, PFLAG has been there for you and me, our children, colleagues, and friends, knowing your support will continue as the need for inclusion, justice, and love always be needed in our communities. As we are well aware, we don't live in a perfect world. As far as I can tell, that won't change anytime soon. But I do know I will need support and people to help me bridge the gap between what could be and what is. I have chosen PFLAG as one of those ways, and I hope you will too. We welcome you to learn more about the work we do, the services we provide, and the communities we serve. You can make a difference. Join us online for a monthly support meeting. Next one will be April the 15th, and we'll have information about that in the garden. Talk to Nancy and me and Charla in the garden as well about how you can get involved in other volunteer opportunities. And don't forget to support our partners, Pacific Pride, SB10, and others in the years ahead as well. Lots of work to do, lots of opportunities to put our principles in closing the gap to. On behalf of PFLAG Santa Barbara, thank you so much. All your financial gifts, your gifts of time, and your gifts of support, they are so greatly appreciated. Now join Nancy, Charlotte, and me in our affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when you are able to hear, for many do not have that. Let us be grateful for those that share gifts, for we are enriched by their gifts. And let us be grateful even for our we may learn generosity. Thank you.
I used to float, now I just fall down. I used to know, but I'm not sure now what I was made for. What was I made for? Taking a drive, I was an ideal, looked so alive. Turns out I'm not real, something you paid for. What was I made for? 'Cause I don't know how to be, but I wanna try. I don't know how to feel, but someday I might. Someday I might. When did it end? All the enjoyment. I'm sad again. Don't tell my boyfriend, it's not what I'm made for. It's not what he's made for. 'Cause I don't know how to feel, but I wanna try. I don't know how to feel. Someday I might. Someday I might. Think I forgot how to be happy. Something I'm not, something I can, something I wait for, something I'm made for. Something I'm made for.
Thank you, Matthew, for that beautiful song of longing in the space between. At the end of most Sunday services, if you've been here for a few times, you might have noticed that right after we sing our last hymn, as we get ready to say our benediction and sing Call Out a Blessing, I almost always say something about how we live in a beautiful and heartbreaking world. I'm not sure when I first started saying this. It's been many years now that I've been using this phrase, And I feel like many, if not most of the sermons that I have preached here over the years have been about one or the other of these things, or sometimes both. Sermons about the beauty we find in the world, in ourselves, in each other. Sermons about the heartbreaks we experience, either within our own lives or out in the wider world we share. But this morning, I want to talk with you about the space that exists between these things. In this space, this gap where we often find ourselves, and the challenge of living with this tension between beauty and heartbreak, and living in the tension between experiencing the world as it is now and leaning into our hope for the world as it could be. This tension that I believe is a big part of what draws us into spiritual community in the first place. How do we manage, and not just manage, but thrive and flourish as human beings in this in-between? In a world that has such potential for joy and connection, and yet also contains such violence and grief. The writer, educator, and activist Parker Palmer, who Nancy mentioned, who himself comes from the Quaker tradition, has called this living in the tragic gap, the gap between the way things are and the way they might be. And as Nancy mentioned, he says there is no resolution. This is the human condition. So we better find ways to deal with it. And a lot of his writings offer excellent tools and practices for living in the gap. So if you haven't engaged with some of his work, I highly recommend it. But before we rush to solutions, I want to spend some time in this space, some time in midair, as Charlotte's beautiful Hymn for All Ages invited us to do this morning. There is in this space, in this gap, something like a longing, that reaching out to grasp the arms that you hope are waiting to catch you, this longing that prompts you to let go of what you know and reach for something else that is also in motion, something else that is also unfixed, dangling in the air ahead of you, this longing, which I also experience as a calling. There's a reason why ministry is so often referred to as a calling and not just a job. At the root of it, I could only do this work if I felt some kind of pull, some longing for a beloved world that motivates me to move through the day-to-day challenges that come with the territory of being human together. But I believe that each and every one of us has a ministry to offer the world, has an answer to that call within us. The root of the word ministry is something like service. And it's not just limited to people who follow that call all the way to seminary and beyond. In this community, we are all called, one way or another, be of service. And I think if you trace that call, if you could pull up the FBI van with all of the tracking devices and put a trace on that call that moves us toward beloved community, toward that possibility of more love and liberation, then I think we might discover that that call comes from somewhere in the depths of this gap, out of this unresolvable tension between what is and what could be. We may hear this call at different ways at different times in our life. So I'd like to invite you to take a moment and think and feel for yourself, where do you experience this longing for a better world, this tension between what is and what could be? Where does this call sound most clearly for you? Does it feel like a pressure in your mind, urging you to learn and expand your ways of thinking and knowing? Does it feel like a light behind your eyes, seeking to illuminate dark corners? Do you feel this longing in your chest? An ache in your heart, or a catch in your breath? There's a sense of what is possible, that compassionate world that you long for. Do you feel like you could breathe it into being if you just knew the right song to sing. The suffering crack open your heart every day. If you feel the call like a punch in the gut, like an intuition in the pit of your belly, the force of conscience that wants to challenge injustice and build something beautiful. When you allow yourself a little time and space to live in this gap, where do you feel it? How can you get in touch with it, that pull that perhaps brought you into this community in the first place? When I first paid attention to this call in myself, I experienced it not as a call to ministry right away, but in a call toward the arts, toward a life of creative expression. And we have a lot of artists in the room, right? Painters and poets and writers and musicians, crafters and creators of all kinds. And just like I believe that we all have a ministry in the world, I believe that all human beings, each and every one of us, are artists too, creators of things in our own way. So whether you are a paid professional or not, where does your creative power intersect with this call? I mention the arts because one of the best descriptions that I have read of this longing, this creative impulse that arises from the tension of living between what is and what you wish could be, I found it in the words of Martha Graham, a dancer and a choreographer. And although she is specifically talking about the artistic impulse and what it's like to make a career out of it, I think her words apply to every one of us who has felt called towards something more. There is a vitality, she says. There is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And there is only one of you in all time. This expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium. It is lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, not how it compares with other expression. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. No artist is pleased. There is no satisfaction whatever at any time. There is only a queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive. I think about this phrase all the time, divine dissatisfaction. Something holy in that space between, that blessed unrest. Like Palmer, Graham doesn't believe that this tension is something to be resolved. The solution to this feeling, this unrest, this dissatisfaction is not to expect things to settle, to land on one side or the other, but rather to be willing to constantly re-engage with the unresolved places, keep the channel open, as she puts it, to not shut down because of fear or self-doubt, to not be derailed by either feeling overly confident or overly critical, but to live in that space of longing, to listen to that which calls us onward and to cultivate our capacity for creative response. Parker Palmer puts it this way: the gap is where all the action is. And by this he means the gap is the only place where real change, real transformation is possible, because that is the place where movement is, in between the letting go and the holding on. A trapeze artist, to go back to that meditation that Charla led us through, and if you remember that video she showed at the beginning, a trapeze artist learns to let go of the bar thousands of times. They're not just using the trapeze as a way to get from one side of the tent to another. It's not a form of transportation. They're using it as a form of expression, as a way of creating beauty in a heartbreaking world, risking the ever-present threat of fall and failure, staying in motion. They do what they do because they have become comfortable in midair, spinning in the middle space between letting go and being caught. Living in this gap, letting go, living in that middle space is deeply uncomfortable. For a lot of people, for most of us, perhaps. Along with that divine dissatisfaction, there is also a strong desire for comfort and security. And we are always tempted to try to resolve this complexity, find a way to live in the world without ambiguity. Once and for all, could someone please just give me the answers? Some people try to close the gap with ideologies of fundamentalism and certainty, gravitating towards systems that leave no room for questions or doubt, following people who offer seemingly easy answers to complex situations. And some people try to close the gap through violence, believing that walls and weapons and wars will solve the problems confronting us, that answers are to be found in dominance and control. Some people try to close the gap with addictions, substances and actions that soothe and muffle the unrest inside, looking for peace through distraction. And all of us, all and each of us at some point will try to land for at least a little while on one side or the other of this tension. That is normal and human. Palmer describes it this way: as you stand in the gap between reality and possibility, the temptation is to jump onto one side or the other. If you jump onto the side of too much hard reality, you get stuck in corrosive cynicism. If you jump onto the side of too much possibility, you get caught up in irrelevant idealism. You float around in a dream state. These two extremes sound very different, he says, but they have the same impact on us. Both take us out of the gap. But the gap is where the action is. And the thing, he says, it's only when you spend time in the space of unresolved tension that creative new possibilities emerge. It turns out that the solution to dealing with that unrest is to live with the unrest, because that's where creativity and possibility and transformation happen. And the ideas that will truly change us will never come out if we immediately decamp to one side or the other of this space. It's his way of saying, keep the channel open, as Graham said. Perhaps this is our most critical job at this moment in this time as a faith community, not to have all the answers, not to solve everything immediately, but to resist calcification and false clarity, to make space for the creativity to arise, to do the hard work of staying fully human, fully awake, even though it breaks our heart to do so. And when all else fails, when we don't have answers and we can't perhaps even locate the right questions, the one thing we can do, we can always return to, is that call, that longing that moved within us before the questions even made themselves known. So when you find yourself kind of grasping around to figure out where to go, one of the ways is to settle and listen and identify where the longing is coming from in the first place, and to honor that. To commit to the practice of listening to that call that comes at once from our own deepest places within and from the unresolved mystery of life itself. To live fully in the in-between, with hope for transformation and willingness to move into action without an expectation of resolution. The human condition will never be perfected, but that means it is also, and this is the good news, never finished. Where we are is never always where we will be. The good news is embedded in this uncertainty, is embedded in this blessed unrest. The fact that it means transformation is always possible, even in the most heartbreaking times. Wars begin, but they also end. Tyrants rise and they also fall. Votes are cast and movements are born and people come together and a more beloved world is imagined and reimagined and reimagined. And these things happen not because it is inevitable, but because people of goodwill hold on to their capacity for transformation, hold on to their humanity. That's what we do. I'll close with the quote that Nancy shared to start us off, that it is a gap that never has been and never will be closed. And if we want to live nonviolent lives, we must learn to stand in the tragic gap, faithfully holding the tension between reality and possibility. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Let us sing together one more time, number 1015 in the Teal hymnal, I Know I Can. Please rise in body and spirit. And please note there is a small lyric change in the final verse. So pay attention to the lyrics on the screen, not the lyrics in the Teal hymnal. That final verse. Stay right where you are, and if you want to put your hands over your heart, or if you have permission to hold hands with someone near you, or put a hand on a shoulder, or if you're at home, just hold your hands open and know you are connected with us in spirits. However it is that you get connected to each other as we move through this space between together. And as you go out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us call out a blessing.